Not too long ago, I took a trip down to VIR, that's Virginia International Raceway. It's like summer camp for sports cars. I wanted to see how Car and Driver magazine does its lightning lap issue. We did a profile piece for Drive, but after the Car and Driver guys broke for dinner, I raided the keys and we shot a couple of quick take videos with two cars that top our list of what to drive in 2015, the Volkswagen GTI and the BMW M235i. I kind of feel like they belong together, even though they're not directly comparable. One's front drive, the other's rear. One's under 30 grand, the other's close to 50. But they share a mindset. I guess you could call it Germanicity. The arrival of a new Volkswagen GTI is always kind of an event. Throughout the GTI's history, the same dramatic arc occurs for each model generation. It starts with anticipation, giving way to joy or bitterness as a massive community of fans processes the newest GTI as a brilliant step forward or a faceplant in the automotive gutter. And finally, the acceptance of the new model such that it is in the amber-tinted halls of the GTI pantheon. Yes, GTI fans can be very annoying. I mean demanding. After all, Volkswagen's prototypical hot hatchback inspired that term, and it will always be a very important car. That's because it's fun and normal people can afford it. If not a new one, then a pretty good used one. With the GTI, there's a starting point for every buyer. And here, the process starts all over again. The 2015 Mark 7 Volkswagen GTI. And, well, f*** me, this is a good one. If you hadn't noticed, we're living in a golden age of front-wheel drive sports cars. But it was the GTI that started it all, and it is still one of the best of the bunch. To be fair, there have been a few GTI missteps in its history. The GTI can only be as good as its underlying Golf platform, and Golf the 7th has been completely re-engineered. It's not only larger than the previous model, but because it was built in the fifth dimension, it's also lighter. And it feels, even more than it did before, like a premium-priced car, both inside and out. And aside from all the sporting character, it's really the interior still that makes the GTI such a special car. And in that way, a good value. That also means compared to GTIs of old, it feels very grown up and faster. With Volkswagen Group's new turbocharged 2-liter 4. It produces 220 horsepower and 258 pounds-feet. That's a big jump over the Mark 6's 207. And a performance pack adds 10 horsepower and a few other goodies. This one has it. But that engine. It's smoother than any four-cylinder engine has a right to, and it's got a torque curve you could serve dinner on. It's one big peak from 1400 to 4500 RPM. Not much high-revving drama here, but loads of usable pull. And then there's the transmission. Volkswagen keeps improving its dual-clutch DSG, and it's tuned specifically for the new engine's torque curve. Yes, you can still get a manual, and yes, you probably want one of those. With that performance package, you also get an electronically controlled limited slip diff, a wet clutch type that can vary from full open to full lock, giving all that torque somewhere to go when you want to leave a corner in a hurry. The improvements are immeasurable. Well, actually, they're completely measurable if you happen to want to measure them. Suffice to say, it's obvious Volkswagen wanted to prove it's committed to the GTI concept, and it did. But as all top dogs do, eventually, someone is going to catch up, and that someone is Ford. Can the GTI keep its lead with Ford putting out so many good front-wheel drive sports cars? In the US, Ford has launched a full frontal attack on the GTI with its Focus ST and the less powerful but dynamically brilliant Fiesta ST. But competition improves the breed, as we can see from the spectacular dynamics of all these front-drive cars. So where does the GTI fit in? Funny enough, the GTI is now the more complete and livable package. Its adjustable suspension isn't sprung like a race car, it's absorptive and pliable even in the stiffest sport mode, while at the same time it's firm and with roll kept at bay, but it never feels bone-rattling. You might want your bones rattled if you're in a cup race on a racetrack like VIR, but you don't really in the world we actually live in. And the real world is where, well, let's face it, the GTI is in its native habitat. Will the Mark 7 GTI take its place among the best GTIs in history? Only time and a massive online flame war will tell. This is the BMW M235i. Anyone who's hung around the BMW rumpus room for very long will have a tendency to microanalyze it. That is to say, try and put it in context of previous BMW models. To say, for example, that despite the first letter in its name, it's not as much an M car as it is, in previous BMW parlance, a 235IS, a standard model that's been tweaked a bit for sportiness, but not thoroughly re-engineered like most cars bearing the M Sport badge. The M235i is actually really close in size and power and weight to the E46 BMW M3, the much beloved E46 generation of the M3, which means you don't have to search Craigslist anymore. You can just go to the dealership and buy one new, kind of. You already know the 2 Series replaced the chunky and divisive BMW 1 Series with a more fluid, swept-back design. I think it's more attractive. You may not agree, and such is the case with modern car design. So you can insert whatever "it looks like X kind of fish" joke here. Inside, the M235i has that same clean, minimalistic BMW interior design that, paradoxically, is really starting to set the company apart, especially as more and more luxury automakers swipe their controls from Cylon warships. Despite a few new lights and gaugey bits here and there, it's like going back to the house where you were born and finding your old teddy bear right where you left it. Fat steering wheel, perfect driving position, and everything else. With the latest N55 3-liter twin-turbocharged inline-6, the M235i delivers loads of power, 320 horses worth, and 330 pounds-feet of torque as soon as 1,300 RPM, making it a serious 0 to 60 in under 5 seconds car. It's even got a bit of high-end pull, the kind that makes you want to chase the needle all the way up to its 7,000 redline. It's got plenty of driving character, too. Of course, like other sports sedans of the modern era, the M235i has that familiar dissonance of being very agile, capable, and fast, but without transmitting much feedback. But with the chassis tune and a dealer-installed limited slip rear diff, it's so well suited to driving quickly on winding roads that it's still plenty of fun. It's that superb little sports sedan that defined BMW in the old days. Of course, these days, there are driving modes to fiddle with. In this case, Sport Plus puts steering weight, ESP, and throttle mapping right where you'd want it. We also have tires like 245 series Michelin Pilot Supersports that cost a bundle, but deliver such massive grip and a progressive traction curve that engineers can tune the entire suspension with just a wrench from IKEA and achieve stunning results from non-motorsport hardware. But let's not get too cynical. The M235i is a very good package. It's got a great engine that feels like it belongs in a premium car, and sounds good, even though the induction noise is coming through the stereo speakers, but we won't talk about that. Yes, the M235i is a little bit new, a little bit classic, and very much worth a second